Berlin is quite cheap comparing to other cities in Europe and also comparing to other cities in Germany. So I think it's one of the cheapest cities in Germany.
Welcome to Expats Everywhere. Can you tell us your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm originally Romanian, but currently I'm living in Berlin as my husband is a diplomat. So I'm basically a diplomatic spouse now. And we live in Germany now.
Okay, so where in Germany do you live?
In Berlin, in the capital. Also been posted before in Austria, in Wien, so the capital, Vienna. Now it's Berlin, and who knows what's next. So.
How long have you been in Berlin?
We've been here almost 5 years now, so it's quite a bit.
And what's it like living there?
It's nice. At the beginning, it was a little bit hard for me. I have to admit this, because I was used maybe to a more friendlier approach. I'm from Romania, so we are like Latin people, like Italians or Spanish. So we like to chat and to have lots of friends. And here it wasn't that easy at the beginning to make friends or make contact with other persons. Generally, I think it takes some time to feel more comfortable in the city, but after a while you get used to their kind of living, and now we are perfectly fine. I mean, we really like the city. It's a beautiful city, so I would recommend it to anybody.
Great. Okay, so as the spouse of a diplomat, do you have a job in Berlin as well?
Not a paid job in the strict definition, because usually we are not allowed to work, or it's quite difficult when we move that often. As expats also know all this stuff. But I try to look everywhere we move. I try to look for volunteer options. So Berlin is quite big, and it has a lot of NGOs. So you can for sure find something that might interest you, a cause that you could advocate for. And for me, it just happened to be UNICEF. So I work for UNICEF now. In Berlin, they have quite a big office. It's over 150 people that all are volunteers, but they have a lot of activities.
Okay, so even though you don't work and you volunteer, do you know other jobs that are available for expats in Berlin?
I think particularly Berlin is very open to foreigners. I mean, I was complaining at the beginning of my staying here that maybe they are too cold, and everybody told me, oh, don't worry, because Berlin is like the best, and they're very open, and it's a lot of foreigners, and Berlin is an IT hub, for example. So there are a lot of IT firms here. So if you're good with technology, for sure you will find work here. And in Germany, I mean, like in general, I know a lot of, for example, a lot of Romanians that work in banks. So banking is quite big in Germany. So if you're good in it and you already you have previously worked in this branch, you could find job, I think, quite easy.
Now, with any of these jobs, do you have an idea of how much someone can earn at them, like whether banking or IT or art galleries? Any idea about that?
I think, of course, it depends what kind of job do you have. Also here, Kurzarbeit is called. It's like short-term or part-time works are quite popular. So there are a lot of people who have this kind of jobs because maybe they couldn't find anything else, or they simply enjoy life. And usually, I mean, social benefits are quite good, so they can afford like decent living only with this part-time working. But I would say like a good salary could be between like 2,500 and 3,500, something like this, euros, in euros, of course. And it could be more than enough because Berlin is quite cheap comparing to other cities in Europe and also comparing to other cities in Germany. So I think it's one of the cheapest cities in Germany. So with the same amount of money, maybe you would have a little more difficult time if you live like in Frankfurt or maybe in Düsseldorf or somewhere else, somewhere in the western part of Germany.
Okay, so if someone's making 2,000 euros a month, is that enough to save any of that, or will you most likely spend all of that living?
I'm not sure about saving, maybe just a bit. depending. I mean, Germans are quite on the saving side. So I would say if you are a typical German, you would save for sure. If you're an expat, I don't know. I mean, nightlife is quite good here, and there are lots of restaurants and a lot of fun activities. So you would probably spend a lot of money also on this. But I think, for example, like just give you an example, like to rent a decent apartment, like let's say, I don't know, 60 square meters or 60, 80 square meters, it would cost around 800 euros a month, something like this, in a decent area. So maybe not like center of Berlin, but a decent area. And Berlin is quite big, so you find this. So you can imagine you have a lot more left for other things, and also food is quite cheap, so depending on your lifestyle, basically.
Sure. Okay, so let's just say that someone has a job and they're getting ready to move to Berlin. How much money should they bring with them just to get started?
I think they would need first some money for a deposit to rent a house. I'm not sure how it's working in this area actually, because usually all these things are taken care by the embassies for us, so we are not like very into this. But I know that I read about it, and people complain that it's quite difficult to get a decent place, not because of the money, but because the owners, I mean, they require to have a bank account, and they ask you for deposits, and they ask you for like references sometimes. So they can be quite picky, especially with the good apartments. They are quite hard to find. So you have to look for it. If you want a good apartment, you have to look and act fast.
Okay, and what's the weather like? How should someone pack?
Oh, that's a sore subject for me. It's not that good. It rains a lot. Most of the year, I would say. I mean, when I complain about this, people say, it's even worse in other cities. But for me, I mean, I love the sun. I'm like sun dependent. So it's especially difficult in the winter months, because winter here is not very cold. It rarely snows, but it rains a lot, and it's always cloudy. So it's like it could be like a whole month that you don't see the sun at all, or almost at all. Other than this, like for summer, you have to expect like temperatures higher than 25, like at a normal level. For example, last year and 2 years ago, they were like the hottest years in German history or something. So I guess we were lucky that we were here during that time, because we have warm weather. And I could see also like temperatures of 40 degrees Celsius. We're talking in Celsius. Which is quite a lot for here, but they are not used to it. They certainly don't like it. I heard a lot of people complaining, and I couldn't wait for like autumn to come, and so cooler weather. And because they are not prepared for this kind of weather, they have also, for example, in school, when the temperature is above 25 degrees Celsius, they shorten the hours, the time the kids stay in school, and they have longer breaks and all these water breaks and stuff like this.
And is there anything there that you can't find that you would recommend people bring from their home country?
I don't know. I think generally Berlin is quite generous when it comes to shops, and I was quite pleased. Of course, at the beginning I was a little bit concerned, because I'm very picky when it comes to shoes, like all women probably. But in 5 years, I could find stores also for me and for my taste. So now it's okay. Maybe sometimes I crave for some like traditional Romanian food that are not easy to find here. But luckily in Germany, because there's a very big Romanian community, they have a lot of Romanian stores also, like online, most of them. So you can order things whatever you want from home, and they would deliver to you. So basically, not really a problem.
Great, that's good. All right, let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about safety. Is Berlin safe, and do you feel safe there?
I think so. I I mean, I never had the impression that I was like worried going out on the streets. Of course, because I'm a mom with two kids, I don't go out late at night that much lately. But if it happened to come home late, for example, from an event or something, it never felt like dangerous or something. Of course, there are different areas because Berlin is quite big, it's very big. And there are different areas like in any big metropolis. So you can imagine if you go somewhere where it's not that safe, maybe you could expect some trouble. But most of the time, I think it's okay. And there's a lot of police on the streets. So no, I would say it's quite safe. So you don't get like molested on the street, or I don't know, maybe I used the correct word. Like as a woman, you know that nothing will happen to you. Nobody will just start talking or making funny remarks or things like this. So they are quite decent regarding that.
Okay, great. What kinds of things do you do for fun, and how do you meet people there?
That's difficult, as I told you already. So at the beginning, it was difficult. And of course, as a diplomat, you always have this circle of diplomats. So basically, at the beginning, wherever we move, the first people we socialize with are the other diplomats from other embassies, and we go to events and we meet people there. But for me, when you have kids, I think it's a lot more easier because you get in contact with other parents, you go to school, you go to like parents' evenings and stuff like this. So you meet other people and then you see if you like them or not, if you want to socialize with them more or not. But other than this, I would say, I told you Berlin is full of restaurants and bars and a lot of festivals. So if you want to meet somebody, you can for sure meet a lot of activities like sports activities, things that are advertised online. So I guess if you become a part of a group which is based in Berlin or something, you could find for sure friends. I don't really think it's a problem because it's very international. So this is a big advantage because it's big. It has a lot of international from all over the world. And this is how I met most of the people that I work with at UNICEF, for example, because it's an international group. We all speak English. You don't have to speak German if you don't want to, and you can still find a lot of people to get along.
Okay, how about the healthcare? Have you had to go to the hospital or doctor, and do you think that the healthcare is good? Would you get a procedure done there?
Yeah, luckily we never had to. But we've been to doctors quite a few times for different minor things, also with the kids. And I think their health system is quite good, especially nowadays when we talk about this pandemic. They proved it's one of the best because it proved they can handle any kind of disease like this. The thing that I didn't like at the beginning was that they are not very, let's say, compassionate, maybe. I mean, they lack this personal approach. I mean, they are very cold with you. And I like also when I go to a doctor, although I know that he or she sees like hundreds of other patients with the same problems like I do, I like to feel that I'm like important to them, or I don't know, they listen to them and they... And I didn't get that feeling. I mean, we looked for a lot of doctors, and eventually we found some that we see regularly, like a family doctor, and also for my kids, a dentist and stuff like this, which are like quite friendly and nice. But it took a while to find them. I mean, we had to look for them. So, and this, I think their medical system is quite good. I mean, I would recommend it to anybody.
Great. Now, would you say being in Berlin, it's a good travel hub where you are?
It wasn't a problem for us, a big problem, but I don't think it's as well connected as, for example, Frankfurt is, for example, or Munich in Germany, or Düsseldorf. Or I mean, we could travel from here, but just to give you the simplest example, if we want to go home to Romania, to Bucharest, which is the capital, there is only one airline who does flights there, and not every day, although there are a lot of Romanians here. So it never happened to any of the cities that we lived before. So it was a little bit like tricky at the beginning. Now we got used to it, and we plan everything in advance when it's possible. And we were able to travel like anywhere we wanted. So there are a lot of airlines here flying here, so it's quite okay. But it could be better.
Okay, good to know. Well, before we wrap up, I want to give you a chance to explain. You're an author, right?
Yes, recent author.
Congratulations. So we are doing a different interview to talk more about your book, but I want you to just go ahead and explain quickly what your book is about, inspiration for writing it.
Oh, thank you very much. Maybe I can present it. This is the book. The name of the book is Just a Diplomatic Spouse. I wrote it because I wanted to let other people know, maybe from outside, what is the kind of life that we live, but also what are the challenges that we face. Like not everything is like picture perfect. We have struggles like all other people. And also this book is, I think it's interesting not only for expats, for example, because they live kind of the similar life, but for everybody else who would like to have like a travel guide to Austria and Germany, because the book is about the postings that we have in Germany and Austria, and I talk a lot about the places that we've traveled in this country. So if you want to come to Germany or if you want to go to Austria, you can read the book and you would definitely find out about some places that maybe they are not very famous, or you cannot Google them very easily because they are not very touristic, but I've been there and I recommend them. So
Okay, amazing. So for our viewers, we will be doing a different interview that's all about the book. So you can definitely check that out to get more information about the book. And I've read it and it's great. And I would definitely say it's an easy read and it's really interesting. So for our viewers, definitely check it out. Check out that interview and check out the book. Okay, so wrapping things up for Berlin. Last question. What are some pros and cons about living in Berlin?
I think Berlin, first of all, of course, I talk also from my point of view, like from a diplomatic point of view. Berlin is a very important capital in Europe, also politically. So a lot of things happen here, and not only political. I mean, for example, there are a lot of artists coming here, a lot of concerts all the time, a lot of festivals. A lot of people want to be here because if you're here, it means you're important. So it's a door opened to anybody who wants to do something. Second of all, I think it's nice because it's very international, as I said. I like that feeling. I mean, it has the feeling of a big metropole. I mean, I've lived also in New York, and I like New York very much. And it also gave me this feeling. I think Berlin is kind of I don't know, like the whole Germany, it has this American feeling. I don't know how to explain it. I mean, they have a lot of foods that maybe are similar, or they remind me of US. And most of the people speak English perfectly, so it's quite easy to get along. Of course, if you want to get friendly with people here, you should also start to speak some German and if you want a better job, but you can get along with English also, so which is a big advantage, I think. The things that I don't like, I told you most of it. It's like the weather. It could be better, and I would like some maybe friendlier people on the streets, but after a while you get used to it, so it doesn't bother you that much.
Great. Okay, Alexandra, thanks so much for telling us about Berlin today.
Thank you.